Some interesting DC movie rumors just dropped recently. That Wonder Woman is going to appear in the Flashpoint movie. Flashpoint was announced Saturday, July 22nd at San Diego Comic-Con as the first movie that's going to star The Flash in the DC Extended Universe. And that was huge news for a lot of comic book fans. Might have been so-so news for movie fans who aren't familiar with the comic books, but I'll explain why this is a big deal and what it could mean for the DC Extended Universe going forward in the future. Now, Flashpoint is a very, very famous storyline from the Flash comic books where Barry Allen, aka the Flash, goes back in time to save his mother Nora from being killed by his enemy, the Reverse Flash. In the most recent version of Flash continuity, Barry Allen's mother Nora was killed by the Reverse Flash when Barry was a little boy, and the Reverse Flash framed Barry's father Henry for the murder, and Henry was thrown in prison, wrongfully accused, and all that kind of stuff. And that was the tragic, angsty origin for Barry Allen. And he grew up wanting to, solve crimes and, help justice be served because of the injustice that was caused towards his family when he was younger. But as an adult man and as the Flash, Barry decides that's why he goes back in time. But he doesn't realize when he does it that going back in time to change the timeline created this whole paradox that messed up the DC Comics timeline. The Justice League didn't exist. Wonder Woman went evil. Aquaman went evil, and Wonder Woman and Aquaman were fighting and at war. Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father, is the one who survived, and Bruce is the one who got killed, and Thomas Wayne became Batman in this new world. A lot of weird stuff happened. And if that were to happen in the DC Extended Universe, that would be huge. Because in the comics, because of all this happened, it also caused Barry to want to go back in time once again when he realized everything was wrong to change it back. But doing this created this huge thing that rebooted the entire DC universe in the comics, and it's possible they could be adapting this storyline to reboot the movie universe, which would be huge. And I'm going to talk about the storyline possibilities for the DC Extended Universe if they do use Flashpoint to reboot their entire movie universe, but I'm also going to talk about some storyline possibilities if they don't reboot it. But first, let's talk with the whole reboot option. As you know, most obviously, DC could be using this to reboot their entire movie universe, which a lot of people might think would make sense because the DC Extended Universe, while financially successful, hasn't been very critically successful, and it's been divisive with fans. And people could be thinking, well, they're using this to restart everything and start from a blank slate, so to speak, as if all the movies that divided people didn't happen, and they could start with a new set of movies. This is the most drastic and huge reset that could happen, and it's one that I don't think they're going to do, and one I hope they don't do. And I'll talk about why. The DC Extended Universe, while it's had a rocky start critically, it still has a start, and I think it's good enough for them to keep on going forward and just start making different types of movies if they want to do that. Acknowledge the past ones happened, but just say, hey, we're just going to diverge in a different direction. And I think people will be fine with that. So rebooting everything, it just seems like a reactionary kind of take to make for something that isn't really that bad. I mean, if Wonder Woman is good and Justice League is good, that'll be enough for them to just use that as their new launching point. Still acknowledge that BVS and Suicide Squad and Man of Steel happened, and just go forward. And there are a lot of people who did still like BVS and Man of Steel and Suicide Squad. So, it's like, just, have some confidence in what you've done, have some faith, and go forward. So, those are my feelings on the whole reboot option. Now, here are some other options they could be taking with Flashpoint. They could use Flashpoint to modify and cherry pick certain things that have happened in previous movies, but not the whole thing completely. For example, a lot of people didn't like that whole Martha moment in Batman vs. Superman. They could be using Flashpoint to say, well, you know what? That just didn't happen. But everything else did. Things like that. They could change certain things here and there and, not restart their entire cinematic universe, but just, modify a few things. But even that could be, kind of messy. Now, they could be using Flashpoint as something that's just Flash specific, where it only affects the Flash movies and the Flash aspect of the universe, where it's a reason to tell Barry's past, tell his relationship with his villains and things like that, just in his own solo movie, and not touch anything else, which they could do. I mean, they could definitely go back in time and establish the fact that the Flash has these time powers and use that maybe for a future movie, or a future kind of, I guess, Crisis on Infinite Earths movie later on down the line. Which leads me to what I hope they're going to do more than anything else is use Flashpoint as a reason to establish the fact that there's a DC multiverse. And they could link all of their WB shows on the CW, Gotham, Lucifer, Preacher, all kinds of stuff, and say that it all exists in like this, multiverse, and have people from the TV show show up in the movies and vice versa, and do it in this weird, like kind of weird but yet awesome meta way. And a lot of DC fans who like the movies and the TV shows would love that too. They could even say that the animated series and the movies and the video games take place in the same continuity. Like even Injustice and stuff like that. Everything that DC does in every medium could be just an alternate universe, and Flashpoint could be what they use to establish all of that. And that's what I really hope that they're doing with Flashpoint, not using it as a reboot, but using it to expand in different dimensions. They could even use Flashpoint to establish that the Justice Society exists. Because if you think about it right now in DC Extended Universe continuity, there doesn't seem to have been any super teams before the Justice League, but they could use Flashpoint to say, oh, you know what? There was one. We altered the timeline and now there were these superheroes in like the 1950s. Maybe they could use this to establish the fact that there's going to be a legion of superheroes, several thousand years from now. I think Flashpoint could be used as a way to open and broaden and expand the DC Extended Universe, which is the best option to me. And I hope they're not using it to reboot a universe that they're really only like 5 movies in. It's just like, it's starting something that doesn't need to be started so quickly. So those are my feelings on Flashpoint and what it could mean for both the Flash character and for the DC Extended Universe. If you'd like to watch me do more videos about DC movies and TV shows and all that awesome stuff, please subscribe, like, comment, do all that good stuff, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.